Okay, we are back, and we want to continue the discussion. We want to again thank Chris Petard for being with us. But we want to talk a little bit about the discussion, or we want to have a discussion about what he actually told us. And I think Fred has some questions about that.
Well, Chris is my friend and a very bright guy, but you know, the hope, there's still hope for America. And how long does that hope take? It's been 200 and something years, and it's still, and our kids are going to fight while other kids are getting shot to death. I mean, you got a guy in the Senate, Tuberville guy, who's blocking a black man from becoming the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I think, so I don't know about this.
But I think with what Chris said is, if you don't have that hope, then what do you do?
Well, how long? Let me ask you this: how long can hope last? 200 years? I mean, we went through the Civil War. We thought we were going to get freedom. We got freedom, but we didn't get equality. And freedom without equality is not freedom. Let's face it, it's not freedom. So Woodrow Wilson promised Du Bois and them to back off segregation, talk about segregation, go fight for our country, and when you come back, we'll give you democracy. And that didn't happen. In fact, the activity of the KKK increased when those brothers came back, and like in Tulsa, in Tulsa, they told us white folks, you're not lynching anybody in this city, and they ain't meant it.
But Fred,
Then you go up to World War II. Right after World War II, in North Carolina, a black man was hung in his uniform. In his uniform. And then Chris talked about Truman's integrating the army. Well, I have something about that. You know why? A lot of black people were dying in World War I and World War II.
right.
So they integrated it. Look at how we escalated in deaths in Korea and in Vietnam. So, yeah. So that's my little, I mean, I appreciate Chris. He's a beautiful, bright brother, and I've worked with him on a number of projects. And I just don't know.
But I still push back on you and say, how do you cap off hope at 100 or 200 years or whatever? Are you saying that we shouldn't have hope anymore? What should we do?
Well, no, don't put that on me. Let me put that back on you. When do we end up? When do we stop hope?
I know. That's what you said to me originally.
When do we stop hope?
We don't.
Do another 200 years where our kids getting shot by cops? Is that what we do? Say, oh, there's hope.
But I think
we do another George Floyd. We talked about that last week, didn't we? All the blacks that are getting killed. You got these idiots in the House of Representatives are trying to turn back time to 1920 or something.
Dr. Chadwell.
Well, I don't always agree with what Fred says, but he does have a point here, in that even if you fast forward to 21st century, we have military men and women who are also being attacked by police officers. I mean, black military men and women who are attacked by police officers, which takes us back to Tulsa, which takes us back to World War I when they came back, which takes us back, and we're still that lack of respect for serving the country is always a question.
Absolutely, and they're always, when they want us to go die for them, they said, "Oh, you have to die for your country." What country? I just don't. You keep saying, when do we stop hope? I don't know. My question is, how long can hope go on without we getting exactly what we deserve?
And I think they're almost the same question. How long do we wait, and when do we stop it? But again, it goes back to what I've talked about before. We won't go into it here, but we control our own destiny. Caleb.
So I guess my thoughts on it are, this country. I mean, it has never, and until it does deal with the original sin,
Which is
slavery.
okay.
America has to reconcile its racist, racial past, and until we deal with that fundamental issue, nothing else is going to change. Nothing else is going to move forward. It just has to deal with that, and it has to recognize that America loves to otherize people, and so until it stops otherizing us and looking at us and criminalizing us, and understanding everybody's contribution to this country, America has an ideal of itself, and it has to come to reality and recognize everybody's contributions.
Well, let me ask a question to both you and Fred. Do either one of you have an ideal of America?
I know what America is.
Not is, but what, with what Chris Petard was talking about is that the hope again, okay? And that the Constitution and the way things were set up is that never has been fulfilled. I think we all agree with that. But also the question has to become, if you are going to have hope, Fred, then you have to have an ideal of what you think America should be. And then we've got to work towards that.
Well, part of the issue is, I'm going to talk about the homeless issue, okay? As I drive around San Antonio, Texas, I'm starting to see an increase of homeless communities around the city. And I thought that I would never see it to the extent that I'm seeing it now. And a lot of the people, since this is Memorial Day weekend, we're getting close to Veterans Day, a lot of the people who are in a homeless community are former military people. And we keep hearing about the benefits they have, Well, if they've got all these benefits, why are they homeless? And what is the DOD doing to at least help their former military homeless people? Because we shouldn't see an increase if you just take those people out by themselves. And I keep hearing about people starting these tiny home communities trying to help, but it's going to be more than a couple of people who can get a grant. It seems that if the DOD knows that they got some of their former people out there that's homeless, there ought to be more money invested to build these tiny home communities to at least get those people and their families off the streets. And I'm just wondering why we keep seeing an increase, and I'm seeing an increase.
And if you don't mind, let me speak to that. So for about a little over 4 years, I worked for a sober recovery center. And so I taught creative writing, I taught life skills, some other stuff over there. And so we were going to build a veteran center at Sober Recovery. It was going to strictly cater to veteran. It's going to be a residential rehab. And it was going to be a multi-million-dollar facility, gorgeous, beautiful facility. They had went so far as to plan out the facility, and we learned during the course of that project is that we couldn't, because what happens is when you talk about homelessness, you're also talking about drug dependency and a lot of times mental illness. So and it's a codependency situation. So what we found out is that we could not build this facility, and as a matter of fact, veterans couldn't even come to the rehab that we had because the Department of Defense will charge them with misappropriation of government funds.
Why?
Because they're using government funds to buy drugs. A lot of times the veterans, if they're getting a check, or if they're retired military, whatever, if you're getting a check from the government and the government finds out or that has proof that you've been using those funds for drugs, they will charge you with misappropriation of government funds.
I think the VA has that issue now with marijuana and CBD.
You will get charged.
Yeah.
And so that's why you see an increase in veteran homelessness, an increase in veterans going untreated, because they have a choice. They can go to prison by getting charged with misappropriation of government funds, or, or they can just go untreated.
So this is a double-edged sword.
Yeah, they can go untreated or they can go to prison. And that's the government. That's the government.
Fred.
So if they're treating, let's say, white soldiers that way, you know what they do to us.
That's everywhere. They're treating everybody.
Yeah, right.
If you go, you can't go into a rehab if you're on a government check, because they'll charge you.
But get back to the Houston thing. That's a perfect example. All those brothers were doing was trying to stop those harassment. I think it was of a black woman
Yes.
on the train.
No.
on the bus?
No, she was, well, she had just gotten off the bus, and the white police officers were basically accosting her.
Right,
So the
right.
black officers in the military saw this, and they went to intervene.
He stepped up.
They stepped up,
And-
which is what they should have done.
And how many of them got hung?
19.
And you talk about hope. Is that the kind of hope that we're talking about?
No,
19
but I
get
do
hung?
no, but I do think that the military, the one thing, Carl, do you have the that graphic? I think the military has begun to look at and try to correct some of the things that have been done.
Try. What do you mean try? Remove try and say correct. And we know it's not happening. They're always trying to do something.
Well, I
in
think
this
they
country.
started.
They're trying to give us equality.
Let me say
They're
this.
trying to do this.
Yes, they are trying.
Trying.
Yeah.
So that's a good cop out, isn't it? Oh, we're trying.
No, I don't.
I've known the military a bone, so they did lead the way as far as integration. And so,
But why?
Huh? What do you mean
Why?
why?
Why was it so easy to integrate the army and not the schools?
Because black folks were dying in the
Right.
war.
They wanted more black folks to die.
Let's
be real.
So they did lead the way on integration. So I will throw them that bone. And so what I think,
But with that caveat, you got to put that caveat in.
and so I mean, with Brother Chris, with his military background. So I understand where he's coming from when you talk about possibilities in this country. And again, I come from a different headspace on that, because again, I until we have that racial reckoning, but I do understand the space from which that statement came.
Okay. All these brothers in Vietnam, let me tell you, this is true, that the Viet Cong would not shoot blacks when the war first started over there.
I heard about that.
Yeah, they wouldn't shoot the blacks till the blacks start shooting them. You know, so they said, "Well, the heck, these people are crazy.
Yeah.
We're gonna shoot them too." And in the middle of that battle, April 4th, 1968, these white folks killed Dr. King, and we're over there killing people like Muhammad Ali said, Viet Cong ain't never come in there.
I got to agree with Chris, though. I'm the guy, hook, line, and sinker, who believes that you have to, every individual, and especially black, we've got to aspire to understand what we want America to be.
We know what we want it to be
Well, then why don't we make that happen?
because they won't let us.
It's not up to us.
No,
It's not up to us.
I don't
We're
necessarily,
outnumbered.
but see, I don't necessarily agree with it's not up to us. It is up to us to show more resistance to what's happening. I don't see anything happening with DEI down in Florida. I don't see anything happening with the people that are that's happening with the books. I don't see any of those things happening. These people who are getting killed, we come here every Saturday, we talk about it, but I don't see anything that's being done. Okay?
Well, I
So
mean-
when you talk about not having hope, you know, first of all, my hope is that we as black people
Have to have
begin to look at this and push back.
But the truth is, you have to have the economic power.
There you go.
We do have economic. If we were a country, we would have more money than
So-
Spain or Mexico.
Let me do something here. So let's talk about the economic power.
Okay.
We could actually sink a school district once a week financially if we take our kids out of the schools. And we always talking about opening black schools, right? Well, the only way that's going to happen is that there's going to have to be a plan in action, right? And so we already know that those kids are worth so many dollars a day. So if a school district has 50,000 black kids and we take them all out of school on Monday and put them into a school on Monday where they're not truant. That's why you got to put them into a school to where you can use that money, since they're talking about parental choice now and vouchers, to where they can go to school on Monday and then go back to the other schools Tuesday to Friday if they have to.
We're out of time and we got to stick a pin in it right there. And Fred, tell them what we're going to do on Hot Topics.
Hot topics. Banning books. Is America becoming like Nazi Germany? And we'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
ooh, we can almost piggyback